Joe Biden's electrification agenda is shaking up the American car industry, but is it leading us toward a cleaner future or the edge of disaster? As car prices hit record highs and EV mandates push manufacturers to their limits, the question lingers: will this bold move cement his legacy, or will it spark chaos that the industry may not recover from?
Well, no. My two sons, Bo's passed away, and my son Hunter, they decided as a Christmas gift to have the engine rebuilt for me.
Wow.
His pride and joy, a 1967 Corvette Stingray, stands as a symbol of this connection. Painted in Goodwood green and powered by a roaring V8 engine, the car wasn't just any vehicle. It was a wedding gift from his father, Joseph Biden Sr., a man who knew the value of a good car and the dignity of hard work. Biden often reminisces about the Stingray, describing how it still brings him joy decades later. This love for automobiles can be traced back to his father, who worked as a car salesman. Biden Sr.'s career wasn't just about selling cars, it was about showing respect and integrity in a competitive industry. One notable story involves Biden Sr. walking out of a dealership after witnessing the owner demeaning employees. This moment left a strong impression on young Joe, shaping his views on fairness and character while deepening his appreciation for cars as more than machines. They were symbols of freedom and personal expression. Biden's car enthusiasm has become a cornerstone of his public image. Appearances on shows like Jay Leno's Garage, where he showcased his driving skills, have reinforced his reputation as a car guy. But is this image purely genuine, or does it carry political undertones? For many, the authenticity lies in his lifelong connection to cars, which blends seamlessly into his political narrative, especially when shaping policies that intertwine with the auto industry's future.
Mr. President!
This sucker's quick.
How's it drive?
How does it feel? Would you buy one of these?
I would.
How does it feel to be behind the wheel, sir?
It feels great. I tell you what. I signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act, the biggest investment in climate ever in all of history. It includes tax credits for up to $7,500 for folks to buy.
His push isn't new. As vice president, he played a key role in the 2009 Recovery Act, which allocated $2 billion for EV battery research. Fast forward to his presidency, and Biden's enthusiasm is hard to miss. From high-profile test drives like the Ford F-150 Lightning to public endorsements of electric models, he used his platform to spark interest and drive momentum for the EV market. Notably, his Lightning test drive was followed by a surge of over 200,000 reservations, showing the influence of his car-friendly image on consumer enthusiasm. Federal incentives have also been pivotal in Biden's electrification agenda. His administration has introduced tax credits for EV buyers and funding for a nationwide network of charging stations. These measures aim to reduce barriers to EV adoption and accelerate the transition from gasoline-powered vehicles. However, the policies aren't without controversy. Critics argue that ambitious mandates for EV production and sales targets put pressure on automakers and could lead to higher costs for consumers. As Biden's electrification vision unfolds, it reveals both promise and challenges. Balancing innovation with practicality has left many wondering how these policies will reshape the automotive industry and the everyday lives of American drivers. The United States' national debt, now exceeding $31 trillion, looms large over federal spending, including Biden's push for electric vehicle subsidies. The administration has poured billions into incentives for EV buyers and grants for manufacturers, aiming to make electrification accessible and appealing. While the intent is clear, usher in a cleaner transportation era, the financial strain is significant. A rising debt means that borrowed money fuels these programs, and as borrowing costs climb, so does the burden on taxpayers. This dynamic can lead to long-term economic consequences, including higher taxes or cuts to essential programs, creating ripple effects that reach far beyond the auto industry. For consumers, these policies coincide with a surge in car prices. The average price of a new vehicle now stands at a staggering $48,300, the highest in history. This spike is partially tied to supply chain issues and increased production costs driven by the shift towards EVs. Compounding the problem are rising interest rates, making car loans more expensive. With the average loan amount reaching over $41,000, many Americans are finding it harder than ever to afford a new car. Shorter loan terms with higher monthly payments have become the norm, further straining household budgets. These financial challenges highlight a growing conflict. The drive to modernize the car industry clashes with economic realities for everyday Americans. As the push for electrification continues, the balancing act between innovation and affordability remains one of the biggest questions facing both the government and the automotive sector. The push for electric vehicles is creating intense pressure on car manufacturers, who are already grappling with global supply chain disruptions. Shortages of critical materials like semiconductors and lithium have delayed production timelines and increased costs, forcing companies to make tough decisions. On top of these challenges, the Biden administration's ambitious EV targets demand rapid adjustments in manufacturing strategies. For many automakers, this means redirecting resources from traditional models to EV development, a costly and risky pivot. As a result, the car market seems to be moving toward catering primarily to wealthier consumers. High production costs and economic uncertainty are pushing automakers to focus on luxury EVs, pressing out a significant portion of the population. For consumers, the situation is no less frustrating. While EVs are marketed as the future of transportation, their high price tags make them unattainable for many middle-class and lower-income families. The average cost of an EV far exceeds what most Americans can afford, and even with federal subsidies, many feel excluded from the benefits of this technological shift. This growing divide has sparked dissatisfaction among buyers who feel overlooked in the rush to electrify the industry. For some, it's not just about affordability, it's about trust in policies that seem disconnected from their everyday struggles. As manufacturers and consumers navigate this evolving landscape, the broader implications for the US car industry are coming into focus. These challenges don't just affect domestic markets, they're setting the stage for global ripple effects that could redefine the future of American automotive dominance. The looming threat of a recession is already shaking consumer confidence, particularly in the car market. Rising inflation and high interest rates are making Americans think twice about major purchases, with vehicles being one of the hardest hit categories. Recent surveys show that many families have started tightening their budgets, cutting unnecessary expenses, and delaying new car purchases. This hesitation is a direct response to economic uncertainty, where higher monthly payments on loans and soaring car prices make even essential purchases feel like risky decisions. For the car industry, this signals a sharp decline in demand, especially for mid-range and entry-level vehicles that traditionally cater to a broader audience. These challenges extend beyond the US borders, potentially reshaping the global car market. Struggles within the US auto industry could weaken international confidence in US-made vehicles, especially as domestic policies prioritize electrification without resolving affordability issues. Additionally, the national debt and economic instability could deter foreign investors from putting their money into American car companies or debt securities. This lack of investment could limit innovation and leave US automakers vulnerable to competition from global players who are better positioned to meet the demand for affordable vehicles. As the car industry braces for an uncertain future, the interplay between economic instability and ambitious policies remains a focal point. These factors will reshape not just the immediate market, but also the long-term trajectory of America's role in the global auto industry under Biden's administration.
When America is confronting the climate crisis, with America's workers leading the way, we're rebuilding the economy, a clean energy economy.
Joe Biden's push for electrification has sparked intense debate about its impact on the American automotive landscape. Some view his policies as forward-thinking, a necessary step to combat climate change and maintain global competitiveness. Others argue that aggressive targets and government mandates are out of touch with economic realities, potentially alienating millions of consumers. Whether history remembers Biden's electrification drive as visionary may depend on how well the industry adapts and how accessible these changes become for everyday Americans. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.